Pinky listened to a cricket, its plaintive song echoing in the cool night air. Where before everything happened, the mare would have found the song soothing. A sleep aid. That's how the foals curled up to Pinky still felt. But not anymore. For her, it was a reminder that their gods were dead. The sun was gone, and as was the moon, for neither could live without their links. The sky was dark, with only twilight stars to light up the pitch-black darkness. The discomfort would always prevent a full slumber. But her job wasn't to take care of herself. It was to make sure the foals were safe. She eventually dozed off, only to be awoken by Maud. The pink mare looked at her sister, and for once, she saw full emotion on her face. But it wasn't happy. The look on her face was familiar. Pure terror. "Pinky, I need your help," she whispered. Pinky yawned. "Please, I really need you to do this for me." Pinky coiled her blanket, lifting the twins' heads and placing the soft mass under them. "What is it?" "I need you to help me." "Of course. I need to know if Mom and Dad are alive." "Why is this coming to light now?" "I don't know. I can't even say I truly believe they're okay. But I can't take the stress of not knowing. I think my hair is falling out." Pinky squinted at Maud's mane, but all that had come off was a loose strand that had fallen off her brush. Nevertheless, she felt the need to help her. With honesty, a huge source of her own stress was induced by the fact that she didn't know what happened to the rest of her family. "I'll help, but first, I need to tell Cheese Sandwich something." "All right, I'll pack us supplies." Half-hour later, they were ready to go. Pinky gave a final look at Cheese, slumbering beside the foals, then shut the door, ready to go. A large herd of the undead had been passing through, and was thusly in the way. A look of despair crossed Maud's eyes, and she turned to go back. However, Pinky grabbed her shoulder in a firm but gentle way. She bent down, removing a pouch and a roll of duct tape from it. The pouch was full of razor blades. Pinky removed one before unraveling a long piece of tape from the roll. She wrapped the tape around the blunt part of the blade, forming a firm, easily grasping handle. Pinky made a shiv. The mare whistled softly, attracting a nearby trotter. Pinky gripped its neck and stuck her shiv into the back of its head. "You look like you've done this a lot." "No, but when the foals nap, I'd observe them. I'd like to try some other methods I've come up with. Now pay attention. This is important." Pinky gripped the shiv in her mouth, her muzzle cringing as she dug into the creature's abdomen. She ripped the intestines from their place, rubbing them against her coat without a whiff of disgust in her eye. Maud shivered. "Why are you doing that?" "When we went to escape with the foals, a friend showed me a stallion outside doing this. He blended in with the horde until he panicked and subsequently died. But it worked, so I used this method to get around. Just close your eyes and I'll get you covered. Word of the wise, hold your nose. This won't be pleasant." Gagging, Maud allowed the substance to be put on her. When Pinky was finished, Maud looked more miserable than a quarry eel out of its nook. "Okay, you have to walk, and don't make a sound. Act like you belong, and you will belong. There's a lot of those things out there, and they're hungry." "That's all?" Pinky bit her lip. "There is one more thing. We should stay separate. The trotters make it suspicious if there's too much tension in one area. I nearly got foals killed when I tried to get them through." Pinky cringed as her sister quivered fearfully. All right. I guess you're kind of the expert here. I wouldn't call myself an expert. You ready? I'm not sure I could really ready myself anymore. Maud slowly crept into the herd. Pinky followed after a few minutes. The mares got lucky. A spare few noticed something was wrong with Maud, but there was no incidents. They traveled another mile from the herd before Pinky agreed to finally have a campsite. Just as a fire was set up, Pinky pulled out 2 unlabeled cans. She smiled. Let's hope for something good. She grabbed another scissor blade and ripped off the top of the first can. Refried beans. Always nice. Maud shrugged, her deadpan face returning from the tense bout. Pinky opened the other and gasped in glee. She hugged the can, smiling. Sliced peaches! That's always been my favorite treat on the farm. Well, before I discovered cake, of course. She scooped up a hoofful of the beans before handing Maud the other half of the can. She tried to refuse the peaches, but she had a heavy distaste for them. But Pinky reminded her that she needed to eat what she could, as she needed the calories. Begrudgingly, she swallowed the canned fruit. I think I'll go explore, Maud said. There's a neat cliffside near here, with some odd rock formations. Pinky smiled. Well, if you recognize the landmarks around here, we must be getting close. Maybe I'll come with you. You should get some rest. You didn't have a chance to get too much sleep back in East End. She couldn't argue with the logic. The fire would deter the trotters. She'd be safe. As Maud walked away, Pinky slipped into slumber. She was woken by a loud thump, and Maud wasn't there. The fire was completely out, and not even an ember survived. She'd been out for a while. Surely Maud would have checked up on her by now, right? Right? Worry set in when she didn't come back 2 hours later. Following her compass, Pinky galloped to the cliffside that she had gone to. The colorful stones, even Pinky admitted to herself that these could spend several minutes staring at a single rock before repeating the process and doing it again with a different stone. But she had one thing she needed to search for. Had she abandoned her? Maud? She wouldn't do that, would she? She didn't see anything. Where could she have gone? Pinky started panicking. Her sister was nowhere to be seen. As the scene became desperate, she made a risky move to cry out. Maud? There was a reply, a gargled cry for help. The mare scanned the scene more closely, finding a familiar, dully colored shape outlining the more colorful boulders. Terror overcame her. Pinky struggled to push the boulder off of her sister, but it was far too massive for any hope of saving her. Tears welled in her eyes, her mane flattened, and she struggled to suppress the urge to scream. Blood dripped from Maud's mouth, but she smiled, hope flickering in her eyes. Pinky bent down and stroked her mane until that hope faded from her eyes. How could you have let this happen? She sobbed. From her saddlebags, she removed a pistol. Please, she whimpered. Forgive me. Her hoof shuddered. She looked away and pulled the trigger just as Maud's dead eyes opened. 20 minutes later. Pinky sniffed, but at last she'd reached the farm. It used to be home, but in comparison to the structures of former Ponyville, it was just a pathetic hovel. She broke into a gallop and burst through the door. Mom? Dad? She cried. She searched the house. On a table was an empty can, with some of the contents within spilled. The liquid hadn't conjugated yet, and it had been opened recently. They were alive. There were other traces that ponies were still in the house, but no actual ponies. Pinky trotted upstairs. As she passed the guest room, a thump emitted from within. She knocked on the door. Mom? Dad? It's Pinkamena. Nothing. Pinky reared her hind legs, then struck out. A foul scent instantly overtook her senses. An immense wave of nausea wafted over her. The mare turned around. "Mom? Dad? No." Pinky found herself staring at 2 gray lumps on the ground. No. She approached them, scared about confirming what she already knew. No. She lifted her mother's head. In a single bullet hole upon it, as was her father. Gripped in Cloudy's hoof was a note. In Igneous's hoof was an old, rusted revolver. They'd clearly been dead for at least a few weeks. Pinky picked up the note. Many things were said. Farewells to Pinky and her sisters. Prayers for them. 2 words were scribbled hastily at the bottom. Forgive us. The rest of the page was splattered in blood. Pinky whimpered and trembled. "You didn't have to do this," she sobbed. Why?" She slumped against the wall, tears falling from her eyes. There was talking outside, happy chattering, but Pinky couldn't hear it. Not until it was too late. The front door creaked open, startling Pinkie Pie. The vaguely familiar voices of mares reached her ears. Pinky stood away from the corpses, crept out of the room, and hid within her mother's armoire, praying to Celestia that she wouldn't be found. Sounds of suspicion emanated from the mares. Pinky shivered, stifling her fearful whimpers, as she heard the ponies trot upstairs. And there was a scream, followed by pleading, mournful sobbing. And then she recognized one of the voices. Pinky softly tiptoed out of the armoire, stopping just outside of the room. She held her breath. "Blinky?" she asked pleadingly. Several ponies pulled guns on her, only to see the source of the voice. Cheerily, and Rose Luck, and Golden Harvest, and... The first to ease her aim, to soften her gaze, was a bedraggled, dull white unicorn. Were it not for her cutie mark, Pinky may have never recognized the mare as rarity. Blinky Pie turned away from her parents and towards Pinky, tears cascading down her cheeks, a few worry-induced wrinkles dotting her face and muzzle. You. Pinky galloped over to her and gripped her in a teary hug. Rarity immediately joined. "We thought you died," Pinky said. "It's been too long, Pinkie Pie." Rarity smiled. Blinky looked down at the bodies. Inky, she bit the dust after she tried to face a bunch of walkers on her own. Always had to be the hero. And now this? Maud, she was with us for a while, but she told us she had to find you. I thought I was the last pie. Did she succeed? The thought of Maud under the boulder entered her mind. She was the reason I came here. She was scared that something had happened to them. She was right. "So, she's with you?" Blinky asked hopefully. Pinky's eyes shimmered with tears. She went to explore the cliffside when I slept. She wasn't there when I woke up. I tried finding her, but she... Crushed, Rarity murmured. She swore under her breath. We used to go to the cliffside. Lots of food and water. It was already weak whenever we went. Then a storm came, and we were foolish enough to send some of our people there again, despite the obvious erosion. We lost some good mares as a result of the landslide. I forbade anyone else from going there. The mare took a breath. Damn it all! Blinky sighed and punched the wall. Sorry, Pinky. I'm happy you're here. Overjoyed. She sighed. So many have died. It's just hard knowing that every one of those things we kill were once our friends. And now, likely it is that we'll become one of them at any time. I've told you, we can't just hold up here forever. It's too small and unprotected. Not to mention that we're out in the open. We could be attacked by bandits at any time, Cheerily said. Pinky, where have you been? Rarity asked. There's a huge group, almost 50 ponies, with a large room to grow. It's at East and Ponyville. Twilight has survived long enough to see her leadership come through. She's gathered survivors and fortified the entire area. It's safe, and farms are grown with magic. We aren't much, but we're thriving. She offered her hoof to Rarity, whose eyes went wide upon realization that one of her best friends was still living. We could use the extra firepower. That applies to all of you. Rarity put her hoof on Pinkie Pie's, followed by Blinky, Cheerily, Rose Luck, and Golden Harvest. Twilight will be happy.